Okay, we are on lesson 2. We are going to focus today on a specific type of probability, which is called theoretical probability. So just as a little reminder, probability is how likely an event is to occur. Oops. And the probability of an event occurring is always going to be a number between 0 and 1, or it could be a percent between 0% and 100%. Probability can be written in 3 different ways. It can be written as a fraction, a decimal, and a percent, which we have learned how to do within Unit 4. If the probability is 0, the event is impossible, it cannot happen. And if the probability is 1 or 100%, the event is certain to happen. Probability of all outcomes should add up to 1 or 100%. Our probability vocabulary. So an experiment is an activity in which results are observed. So like us spinning the spinner, in our last lesson. An outcome is the result of one of the trials in our experiment. And our sample space would be all the possible outcomes in an experiment. So let's go ahead and down below and just talk a bit about sample space. So if we're doing an experiment, like flipping a coin, when we flip a coin, there are a total of 2 outcomes. Specifically, those 2 outcomes could either be tails or heads. That is my sample space. If I am looking at rolling a number cube, there are 6 different sides to a number cube, each labeled with a number 1 through 6. So there are a total of 6 outcomes, where those outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If I draw a colored cube from a bag with 2 green, 1 red, 10 blue, and 3 black, the total number of outcomes would be everything in the bag. So I would add up 2 plus 1 plus 10 plus 3, which is a total of 16. Now, my sample space are just the different outcomes in that experiment. So I could either draw a green cube, a red cube, a blue cube, or a black cube. The amount of those do not matter for the sample space. Selecting a letter from the word probability, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 letters in the word. Now, when I list the sample space, I'm only going to list the letters once. So I've got P, R, O, B, A. I'm going to skip over the B, I, L, don't need an I anymore, T, Y. So that would be my sample space. Next page. When we talk specifically about theoretical probability, this is what should happen. So this is our assumption of what should happen based on what we know with what we have. So it's a number of possible outcomes out of the total outcomes. So let's try this out. If we are rolling a die, so this dice up here, it's got numbers 1 through 6 on it. So there are a total of 6 outcomes on that die. The theoretical probability of landing on a 4. Well, on the dice, there's only 1 4. So I want to write a probability sentence, which looks like this. I'm going to put P in parentheses, what they're asking me, probability of 4 equals. Then I want the number of specific outcomes divided by my total outcomes. My specific outcomes are based off of what they're asking me. They want to know how many times a 4 is going to show up. So I'm going to say, well, there's 1 4 on the die. There's 6 total options. So my probability would be 1/6. The way that I read this, is the probability of 4, or of rolling a 4 in this case, is 1/6. That's how I would read it. Okay, so it says, what is the theoretical probability of landing on an odd number? So specifically, they're asking me for an odd number. So I'm going to say probability of an odd number equals, well, on a die, we've got 1, 3, and 5. Those are odd numbers. So those are 3 options out of 6. I'm always going to simplify the fraction. So 3 out of 6 is 1/2. Right, let's try this with a spinner now. So this time it's asking, what is the theoretical probability of landing on a 2? Well, if I look at the spinner, there are a total of 4 outcomes. So I'm going to say probability of landing on my 2 equals, if I look at my spinner, is there a 2 on the spinner? No. So it's 0 out of the total amount of options I have, which is 4. So 0 out of 4. So probability is 0. Now it says, what is the theoretical probability of a vowel? So probability of vowel. So I'm just putting what they're asking me specifically about inside the parentheses. Equals, well, A, E, I, O, U. So A is a vowel. That's the only one. So there's 1 option out of the total 4. So my probability is 1/4. Now it says, try it yourself. So it says, if one letter is chosen at random from the word refuse, what is the probability the letter chosen will be an E? Write the answer as a fraction, percent, decimal. So I'm going to let you go ahead. Please pause the video, try that one on your own, unpause the video, and check your work. So probability of an E equals, well, there are 2 E's in the word, and there are a total of 6 letters. So this would be 1/3. As a decimal, this is 0.3 repeating. As a percent, 33.3 repeating percent. Next one says, what is the probability of tossing heads on a dime? Write the answer as a fraction, percent, and decimal. So please pause the video, do that one, and then when you're all set, unpause the video and check your work. So it asks us to find probability of getting heads. So probability of heads equals, well, heads is on one side, and there are 2 sides to the die. So that is 50%, or 0.5. Right, that is all for this lesson. Good luck on your homework.